And my name is Nick. This is Sicko Podcast. Welcome to the show.
Bet. All right. All right. So, what do you want me to call you? Wawa, Wakeem, Nick? What do you want
I
to
don't matter, Nick. Wow, Akeem. It don't really
do? All right. All right, Wakeem. Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. I'm looking forward for this conversation because, I love watching your journey. Post graduation, I see that you're teaching. I see that you're doing a whole plant-based diet. And
matter.
that's something that I've actually been curious about because I've done or tried to do several types of diets. I tried like a carnivore diet for a little bit. I tried to do sort of a variation of a plant-based, except I had fish too. So I don't know, how much that counts or anything. So I'm excited to basically learn and catch up, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it's been a calm year after graduating. I say it definitely feels good just like working around like a solid schedule where you have a solid routine. You're making money to, pay off your expenses, to save, to invest, and do all of that stuff. Um, Plant-based diet, like, I actually transitioned last year around this time, last summer.
Hmm.
The reason why I wanted to do it, because at first, when I graduated, I realized I was kind of feeling like really gross. Like I was not necessarily like sick, but I just wasn't feeling good like about myself. Like not necessarily physically, but just like my well-being. So one of my friends that I met at QC, he was on a plant-based diet, and I hit him up actually. I was like, hey, like, what was this plant-based diet you were talking about? And he referred me to his health coach, who's also now my health coach. Um, and we just got on a call, talked about it, just kind of asked some questions, just, mentioned my reasoning. And I was kind of hooked into it just because I had watched a couple documentaries before and done some research. And I recognize all the benefits that, were behind a plant-based diet. So I decided to transition to, at first I wanted to try it. I wanted to see how it would work for me. I'm not gonna lie, the first week was kind of tough because,
Yeah.
all my life I was just eating like meat, dairy, seafood, all that, all like an animal-based diet. Like anything you could think of, like I would just eat because it tastes good. But then I just started to realize like the effects it had on my body afterwards, and like I was like not waking up on time in the morning, feeling kind of nasty, like not motivated to exercise. We'll get really like hangry, when you get emotional, when you get hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling that a lot. And just I would just crave a lot of like junk food, sweets, sugary stuff, like snacks, chips, and all that stuff. So the program that I did was like a 28-day plant-based detox, and I'm not gonna lie, it changed my life. It was supposed to be like, you start cutting out things you usually eat, and then you go fully transition to it. But I just really wanted the results, so I just went cold turkey the very first day, and it was kind of like a shock to my body. It was just like, oh, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you eating all this stuff? But after the first day, I was like, okay, like this is fine. Like I'm living, like, I ate, I'm okay. After the first week, I was like, all right, this is doable. This is, I have a plan. I know what I want to eat. I know what I like. And then after those 28 days, I just fully like transitioned. Like I didn't really miss eating meat and stuff like that, but I noticed like how certain foods kind of are make my body like really sensitive to it, like fried foods, and like more processed stuff like chips, and stuff like that. But overall, it was a really good transition. It's been a year now, like I said, and I feel good. I've been exercising a lot more. I can wake up in the morning now, and then like I kind of just feel good knowing that like what I eat and or drink will overall like just benefit my well-being.
Yeah. That's dope, man. You know, I thought about doing plant-based, but I never did the research fully to really like dive into that world. And I definitely relate to what you're speaking of in terms of just sort of feeling like shit, even though like
Yeah.
you're healthy, like you're healthy, you're doing good, but you just don't feel like great. And
Mhm.
I've also been feeling that a lot more recently.
Mhm.
Um, and that's really what sparked the diet that I'm on now. But I
Mhm.
haven't fully transitioned to plant-based, and I want to try it just because, I mean, I don't know if I could ever give up on meat, but I want to just know enough to go a couple months maybe without having meat, or just like going a period of time in order to take breaks and stuff. Well, for the detox, what was that like basically in terms
Um,
of, yeah.
well, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think the first thing would just be to just be aware of what you're eating and what you're putting into your body, because it's definitely a fact that, like, you are what you eat. So like anything you ingest, and you're pretty much like feeling it afterwards. You know,
Mhm,
um, the detox, it just like kind of replenished my energy. Like after we graduated, we were like 22, 21, 22 years old. We're young, we're healthy, we're ready to do so much for the world. But like you can't do so much when you just feel like shit, when you don't have energy in the morning, when you're not motivated to do stuff. And it really just made me feel a lot better. Like I feel like it made me feel clean. Like I felt really clean. Like I felt just really active. My mind was just focused on what I wanted to do, and I went into vacation. So I was just kind of just chilling. Like it was a perfect time where I'm not stressed out. I'm not worried about school or college, and I could just really just eat,
mhm.
exercise a little bit, do whatever I want. At the time, I was playing basketball too, so just go play ball and just do summer stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I would recommend just you say you've done research on it, so keep looking up, what it is, um, why do people do it? There's a lot of athletes and famous people that have transitioned to, um, and even just try to like eating less. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what your diet is, but just try eating less like meat and dairy and stuff like that. And then maybe like meatless Mondays, one day where you just don't eat it at all, and just like start to notice like how you feel after you eat. And it's just a transition, and it's
Mhm,
not a race. You don't have to go cold turkey like I did. I only did it because I wanted the results that badly. But if you want to do it for a couple months, yeah, a couple months would be good. You don't have to do it for your whole life. Some people just do it. Like the thing about diets that I don't really like is,
mhm,
people kind of just do it for a short period of time, and then they get the results they want, but then they go back to whatever they were doing before, and they just eliminate all like the hard work and the results that they achieved just by going back to that bad habit. Um, so that's why I wanted to turn into a lifestyle. Because
mhm,
at first I was just kind of like on your timing. I was like, okay, let me just try it. 28 days. That's just a month. Not bad. And then I'll see how I feel. But then I realized like, yeah, those 28 days were not long, but it's like I worked hard to finish 28 days of eating completely plant based. Like, why would I go back to eating meat and dairy and all that stuff I used to eat to feel the way I used to feel when I feel great right now. So yeah, I definitely recommend just looking more into it. There's documentaries out there
mhm,
that talk more about it, that give you more insight, give you other people, athletes and famous people's perspectives on it. And overall, honestly, it's a lot better for the world to eat more of a plant-based diet, because there's a documentary Cowspiracy on Netflix. It
mhm,
explains how animal agriculture um, is not good for the world. It creates a lot of pollution, and a lot more pollution than humans do. But it's kind of like hypocritical, because these animals are being farmed so that we can eat them, not for their well-being.
mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Um, and I will research because now is really the time, I think, just to, do these transitions and figure out how to make yourself feel good and feel just better in terms of your body, your system. And if it's helping the planet, all more for it. Um,
Exactly. It's helping the world. It makes you feel good. You know, and there's just a lot of benefits behind it. And there's a lot of the dishes. The thing is, like, we eat stuff we like and that that tastes good. And you would never cook something by itself and just eat it. just like that. You know what I mean? Like you don't eat things that are tasteless. Like we
Yeah.
season our stuff, we put all types of stuff, but like all these seasonings and stuff like that, they come from plants. Like you know what I mean? The seasonings, the spices all come from plants. Um, the like more processed kind of seasonings, like the barbecue seasoning, the grill seasoning, stuff like that. That's more like processed and like whatever they put in that to make it taste like that. But like like pepper, salt, just all these spices, like cumin, um, garlic powder, onion powder, all that stuff just comes from plants. So it's like we season our stuff to make it taste good, but all that seasoning comes from plants. So it's like we don't like food because of the meat, because of the dairy, because of the cheese. We like it because the seasoning, because it tastes good, because it tastes the way we want it to
Yeah.
taste. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I never thought of that. I never thought of that. That's a really good point. That's a fire point.
Yeah,
You
because someone
season.
explained to me, was like, "Yo, like, would you cook a piece of chicken just by itself?" And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"No, like, why would someone do that?" It's like, "Yeah, you would season it with stuff like that, but like, you eat it because of the seasoning, not because it's like just the meat itself."
Yeah.
So I think that was the point that got to me. I was like, "Yo, I really don't need to eat meat for things to taste good." I like seasoning. I like seasoning stuff the way I want to, and the way it makes it taste good to me.
What's your favorite plant-based meal?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot. Like, every cuisine, like you can just if you take out the meat or dairy, like it still tastes good. You know what I mean? So for Asian cuisine, I just like stir fry. Like I like stir frying like a bunch of vegetables together, cook some rice, eat it with the rice. Italian, like I love making pasta. Like there's a whole bunch, like there's like gluten-free pastas that are made out of like chickpeas or lentils,
Mm,
and they just pack a bunch of protein per serving. So I just eat that with some tomato sauce, cook some mushrooms, vegetables like broccoli, some asparagus, whatever I want to put in it, and just throw that together. I made this like really fire Alfredo, like that is just straight from cashews and like onions and vegetable broth, and
that's
it
lit.
literally tastes like Alfredo. Um, I think like American food, like I guess like fast food kind of like I think the Beyond Burger is kind of good. I
Mm,
don't eat it too much just because like it's just made in however they made it.
yeah.
But it tastes good. Like you season it, make it like a regular burger, like it tastes fire. Um, I like eating like tacos. Like I could just cook whatever I want to cook up, season it, just make it with some tacos. Um, and ooh, I'm a big fan of mushrooms. Like I really
Mm,
like mushrooms. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of mushrooms that are like they have a very like meaty texture. So if you like cook it a certain way, it kind of replaces that meat kind of
mm,
meat texture. I like making chickpea curry. Like you just make curry, but instead of like chicken and stuff, like you just
mhm.
throw chickpeas in there, and that packs a bunch of protein, and it tastes good because it's curry. Like you season it just like curry. But there's so many like recipes and
Yeah.
dishes I can name, but like that's kind of like the food that I like to make. Oh, rice and beans, dude! Like from the Spanish spot,
Classic.
rice and beans, like that's straight up plant-based meal. Like it
Yeah.
tastes really good. I looked up some recipe online, made it for the first time I think a month or two ago, and it
Mhm,
was it was like a big pot of rice, a big pot of beans. I'm like, yo, this could feed me, my brother, and whoever else wants to eat for like a week, pretty much.
mhm. That's fire. That's fire. I'm definitely gonna hit you up probably sometime just for some recommendations. 'Cause
I could slide you the documentaries. I
yeah.
could, even refer you to my health coach who made the detox if you wanted to try that out on your own.
Mhm,
I could send you the recipes that I looked up. It's all like on the internet, or if you
mhm.
buy like recipe books. I do recommend a blender and an air fryer. Blender just so you
Yeah.
can like make shakes or smoothies and stuff like that, or you can like make sauces and stuff like that out of your blender. And then an air fryer is kind of like a mini oven. So,
Yeah.
if you don't like fully use an oven, you can just throw stuff in the air fryer and get it done.
Yeah. Air fryers are fire. I got one like a month or two ago, and they cook everything like that, quick as hell.
Yeah, bro, you just press a few buttons, and just go.
It's crazy when when I found out about it. I was like, we had this the whole time.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I could have got one in college, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's convenient. Like, I don't like fully using an oven, getting trays and all that stuff. I could just pop some stuff in the air fryer. And there's some with like 4-in-1, like you can like bake, air fryer, roast, roll,
Mhm.
like all that stuff. Like I got one of those instant pop ones. It was like $90,
Yeah,
but and it's gonna last for like at least a couple years before something happens.
that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Speaking of college, I was just curious because we chilled and hung out many times in Cuse. I
Hmm.
was just wanted to know like what your experience was like in Cuse, what joining LAU was like for you.
Hmm.
Just how was that experience?
Um. Overall, I honestly, college is just a fun time. Like someone else, I think I could like talk through like the phases. I think like freshman year was kind of like we all get on campus, it's lit. Either coming from wherever you come from, just being on campus, being on your own, independent. Not with your parents in your parents' house. This is a great feeling. You got your own room, your dorm, whatever. You can go out, do whatever you want, eat however you want, and there's so many things to do on campus or outside of campus. Uh, and it was just a great feeling. Everybody probably had the most fun their freshman year because I was kind of just like, your first year of college. Those are probably the best memories you can make. Not gonna lie, academically wise, I did slack that first semester. I kind of had too much fun, didn't focus too much on it.
Hmm.
But the second semester, I started thinking about, okay, like my family's paying a lot of money for me to be here, so I will still have fun, but it's time for me to start getting serious about what I want to do, what I want to study, and just get myself together academically. I did like first semester I had like a little under a 3, but I knew I could do better. Like I knew I was a better student than that.
Yeah.
Second semester I picked it back up and started just researching like there's more classes that I want to take that like it's not high school anymore where you have to take these classes and there's no way around it. It's college where you can kind of pick and choose what kind of classes you want to take and make your own schedule and stuff like that. So yeah, freshman year was cool. Lived in BBB, dope freshman vibe. Had fun. Made the best memories. Sophomore year, I moved to South, so that was a kind of big transition. Going from like a freshman dorm where you're living with a bunch of freshmen. It's like a community there.
Yeah.
Then you go to South where it's quiet. Everybody get their own apartments. It was me and my roommate freshman year. We became roommates again, and it was just different. You started to realize, who your real friends was. Like you started to realize, like, okay, these are my friends because we kind of lived together and we're around each other. These are my actual friends who, like, hit me up and text me and want to do stuff with me, want to go out, want to work out, want to study, want to just, eat and whatever. Um, and then my roommate decided he didn't like South, so he kind of moved out.
Hmm.
He moved to main campus because he honestly just liked the main campus vibe a lot more. All right, that's cool. And then he used the excuse to rush the IFC frats too. And also, I mean, like he was my like one of my really good friends. I would say like my best friends. So like I did it too, but then I realized like that kind of culture just wasn't for me. I just didn't like it. So I didn't find out about LAU around that time. I met like Nico on a bus. I remember we just ended up siphoning with each other. And I didn't even know he was in the frat. So I remember I pulled up to China one time, bumped into him. He's like, "Oh, what's good? Let me introduce you to my LBs." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, what up?" And we were doing like deep fried Oreos at the time. That's when like we call Alberto, Matt, Medina, Quiles, they just crossed. And I was like, "Cool." Put in an order. Not gonna lie, I didn't end up getting the Oreos. I did it just to support.
Yeah.
Um, but I ended up just getting to know them more. I remember I missed the informational, and then Alberto Medina kind of just did one for me, like on the side with this other kid. But it was cool. It was just genuine, good vibes. Chilled, met all the bros, and I was like, you know what? Like, you want to join people who, are like you, are, are promoting like a positive mission goal, and just want to do better for not only themselves but just their communities too. So that's when I was like, okay, like this is this is something I would definitely consider being a part of. So just going through that whole process, like meeting Jeff, meeting Juwan, and going through the process, like I ended up just realizing like like how much of a strong bond I built with these men. And that's something that truly changed my life too. I started learning more not only about them but about myself, about my family, where I come from. I how I could apply myself to be better, to be a better person, not only for like my family but just for the community, for the world. um, the LAU has definitely done a lot for me, and I definitely plan like to do more for the organization as as I go through life, go through teaching, go through just being an adult. We just got fresh out of college a year ago, so it's a big transition. But overall, like LAU has given me a lot of skills, has helped me develop to be like the man I am today. Honestly, I met so many like good people in in the organization, outside my organization. It just brought me so many connections and also helped me like get my teaching job today.
Mm.
So I'm just really forever grateful for going through that experience. And then that just goes into junior year and senior year, where I moved off campus. That was another transition. Paying rent, paying bills, and stuff like that. Having to get groceries too. Um, and that's when you start taking school more seriously. You start thinking about, okay, what do I want to do in the future? How what am I studying right now, and how am I going to use that to do something after college? So that was another big transition and focus area for me. But ultimately found a summer internship with the schools that I work with now, and it was a great experience that kind of just showed me that I could be a teacher. It's something I'm good at. I'm good at working with kids. I enjoy it. It makes me feel good, and it's
Mm.
definitely important work too. So going into senior year, I secured that bag. I was like lit. I got a job after college.
Yeah.
So, I met my girlfriend at the end of junior year. We've been together for 2 years. Shout out to Anna. I love
Congrats. Congrats.
her. She just graduated too, so congrats. And senior year was just cool. I just did what I had to do for myself, academically, and for LAU, and just really just enjoyed that year.
Yeah, that's fire, man. It seems like, the college experience was for you, it was one of growth, one of just like building, a network, a community, relationships. And, I'm really happy that it was great for you. And I got to see some of that growth myself, just being, able to just chill with you and hang out with you all the times that I did. I never thought though that you'd end up being a teacher. Although I didn't really think I didn't have an idea of what profession you'd be, but teacher surprised me. What did you like? When did you realize that I want to be a teacher?
Honestly, man, well, yeah, I met you through college, so I'm grateful for all those relationships and meeting you, hanging out with you, and even talking to you today. I'm doing this with you. Um, as a kid, I was like a smart kid, but I was kind of lazy too. Like I knew like I could get it done. I
Yeah.
kind of choose when I wanted to do it, and I know teachers hated me for that. Um, but as I grew up, I started realizing, how much I appreciated my teachers and like, how much they do for me and how important their work was. So, but at the same time, as like a little kid, young kid, I was like, I don't never want to be a teacher. Like that's boring. Like, why would
Mhm.
I want to do that? Yeah, I started realizing how important it was. Junior year, I picked up this community service thing that Medina introduced, like just a bunch to us at that time. It was called Young Scholars for Boys. And it was just kind of like a tutoring service where you go to this learning center. I forgot where. I think north side of Syracuse. Yeah, I think the north side of Syracuse. I drove there every time. It was like once a week for a couple hours, and we just help kind of like refugee and immigrant kids who live in that area, who come from Africa, the Middle East, and from all over the world too. Mainly from those areas when I got to know them, and you kind of just help them with what they need help with. What are they doing in school? What are they learning? And it's not a lot of them speak very good English, so it's hard to always communicate with them exactly how you want to communicate with them. And I understand, like I developed that patience, like like it's hard to teach somebody something that they don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's easy because you understand it. And this is what I learned through grad school was a curse of knowledge. Once you know something, you forget what it's like to not know it anymore. You know what I mean? So like everything you learned, like now you know, but you forget the experience you had that when you didn't know it.
Right.
So it's like that's how you gotta explain things that make it sticky to someone that they can understand it the way you understand it. Um, so through that, I had fun. Those kids were cool. Like we joked around, we played around, we studied, got to know each other. Told them I went to Q's. They wanted to go to Q's. They were like mostly in high school too, and I realized how much I enjoyed that time. It didn't really feel like community service. It felt like you know we just chilling. I'm helping you out with some work.
Mm.
I didn't realize community service, so I handed in my sheet like, hey, could you sign this for me, so I can get like some hours marked down. So that's when I was okay. Like at the time, I was still confused about what I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, like this is tutoring, not teaching a classroom. But I was like, if I can tutor some kids, I could probably teach.
Mm.
I found out about Teach for America at a career fair, like the CBT career fair at the time. They didn't really get back to me. So I was like, I just wanted to learn more. Like I was trying to get an internship or whatever, but
Yeah.
okay. So then one of my friends that I met through Greek life at Q's, she was a teacher at Uncommon School in Brooklyn, and she did the same internship that I did. So she mentioned to me like, "Hey, like I work for Uncommon School. They do this summer internship that's that you probably would be interested in." So I was like, "Oh, okay. I didn't never heard of this. Like, thank you for telling me about it." So I did some research, went on the site, read about it. It's Charter School Network, public charter school network. It's in Brooklyn. It's in New Jersey, Massachusetts, in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So looked into it and realized like I was eligible to apply. So I was like, all right, why not just apply? Just like any other application. Then waited, and then they accepted me for the interview. Yes, interview. Like, but then I was like, and then the interview required me to like teach a sample lesson. I was like, shit, like I ain't never I never taught in my life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was like, what am I gonna do now? So I actually reached out to some bros throughout in LAU, like, hey, like, who's a teacher? Like, someone got to be a teacher. Someone got to work in education. I got this interview. I don't really know what I'm doing. I got connected with a bro who went to UConn in Connecticut. He founded the chapter there, and he kind of helped me with my sample lesson. He's like, all right, like, this is what charter schools expect of you. This is how like the culture is, and sample lesson would be really short because it was like 10 minutes max. And a regular lesson is like an hour, so it's a very condensed version. And this is what you want to do to make sure you execute it correctly. Yeah, so here's some sample lessons that I had. He was an English teacher. I want to teach math. I was like, okay, let me like try to recreate my lesson through your lesson, look up some resources online. They provided me with some videos. I'm like, okay, this is how our teachers teach, So I watched, I observed. I went to my friend who taught at that school, and I observed her for a day. So, okay, what are you doing in the classroom? What do they teach you to do? So I picked up some of that stuff. Um, I think I did really good in the interview at the time. And then I think a month or two later, they told me that I got accepted for the internship. Yes, I
Mm.
got something. I never had an internship in my life, so I was like, okay, this is it. I got something done. It's like my first professional experience. So it's really my time to put in my all for this. The internship was dope. It was centered in Brooklyn. They had other regions too, but I picked Brooklyn first just because I'm in New York, convenient.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a 6 or 7 week program, pretty much. Met a lot of really cool people because, like, we're all college juniors trying to, teach, trying to, get an internship, trying to secure something for our future. So I met some really dope people through there. Some of us stuck around to actually be teachers today. So shout out to them. And once I got to the job, the real job, I was
Yeah.
like, this is a lot different than what I did in the internship. The internship is like a watered down version, like here, get your feet wet. Like this is what it's like. The real job is like, you're a teacher. You know what I mean? Like you're not like some like, you know, trainee or an assistant, like, yo, you're a teacher. Like, you gotta teach, you gotta grade, you gotta communicate with parents, you gotta be professional, you
Mm.
gotta, do everything that a teacher does. So I'm not gonna lie, the training did prepare me for that first year. But that first couple of months, I was like, damn, like waking up at like 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. Gotta go all the way to Brooklyn. I teach in Brownsville, so that's like an hour to get there, plus an hour to get back home. I'm there from 7. School day ends at 4, plus a couple of hours if I have to get some stuff done. Pretty much happen like every day. So I
Yeah.
was a little stressed out, I'm not gonna lie. But I realized, like, weekends are for me. Fridays, if the staff is doing anything, if they planned a happy hour or like, a fun social event, I pop out, just make sure I'm still me. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And after my finishing my first year, I was stressed out, I'm not gonna lie, but it was a very rewarding experience. And, I bonded a lot with my students, not all of them, but there's ones that like me, that don't like me, and there's ones that I like that I don't like. But honestly, like, that's just life. You can't
Yeah.
like everybody you meet. But at the same time, they're my students, so it's my responsibility, my duty to teach them what they need to learn. And that's part of my job. Um, you know, no matter who it is, like I'll still give my all to make sure you're understanding what you need to understand. And it's very rewarding to watch them grow.
Mhm.
From being from the first day to the last day. I was a little bit upset that we didn't get to enjoy like the end of year festivities with them, like, end of year trips, the stuff like that, and just like having like more fun towards the end. But I think that first year it wasn't that bad. It helped me realize where I needed to grow and what I was good at, what I was not, and just looking. And the summer is just a well-needed break from all that, so that next year is coming fall, I'm more prepared to be better.
Yeah. That's That's dope, man. You're affecting like all the students you have, like you're actually shaping a part of who they will be in the future. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think about, I was just talking to one of my friends, Stacy, about one of these teachers, one of my teachers growing up that really had an effect on me because of all the experience that he had. He was like he had so many different odd jobs throughout
Mm-hmm.
his life, and he traveled to so many places. So he had a story for everything and a life lesson for everything that was just outside of academics and shit like that. And that stuck with me because I wanted to be more like him. I wanted to have those stories as well. I wanted to not just have like, oh, I traveled here and I did this. It's more so I can help you because I've experienced, because I tried doing this in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. It's dope. Does it ever like get to you or like blow your mind like, oh shit, little Ben here, you know i'm I'm shaping his life because I'm spending a lot of time with these kids.
Yeah. There's like a lot of students who work really hard. Some might be at different levels than the others, but at the end of the day, they all work really hard. So I kind of like gave them like an end of year reflection. Not all of them did it just because it's online. I can't hold them accountable. It was like an optional thing just for me to see what I did. Like, how do they feel about my me being a teacher, me being their teacher?
Mhm.
How do they feel about class? How do they feel about being in my class? What was their favorite memory and stuff like that. Um, I do realize that a lot of students, they're very aware of things. You know what I mean? Like, although I teach fifth grade, they're very young. Um, they're very aware of their surroundings, of what's going on in the world. Um, they kind of think and know a lot more than you think they do. They kind of observe you, you know, not just like what you're teaching them, but just you overall as a person, and how they could relate to you. Who are you to them? You know what I mean? So hey, one day I really hope, that they get to achieve, their dreams and do what they want to do in their lives, and just like kind of realizing like, hey, like, that was my student. Like hopefully like what I taught them outside of academics, like you said, help them get to where they are now. So I do think about that a lot, and that kind of just what drives me, because education is all about like building tomorrow's leaders, and whether you're in elementary, middle, high, college, post grad, like you're educating yourself to become a better person, to do
Mhm.
more for the world. So I always keep that in mind. When times are stressful, when uh, I feel like shit sometimes, but I realize that what I'm doing is important and it's affecting their lives, like you said, and it keeps me going. That's kind of like my drive, my why, like why
Right.
I wanted to do it in the first place. It's just for them. These are kids. The youth are tomorrow's leaders. They're the most one of the most important groups of people in our world. Mhm. So yeah, I think this was the job for me. I think one of my chapter founders, Kai, he said, he asked me because at the time I was confused about what I wanted to do in college. I didn't know. I had no direction, pretty much. He asked me like, how, what will you do to change, not necessarily change the world, but to create a positive impact on the world or the people around you, you know. And that's when I realized, like, yo, teaching, like, teaching, that's an everlasting positive impact that you can have on your students, people around you, families that you encounter. It's like, you know what, like, this is good. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hard job. It's stressful. It's not easy. It requires a lot out of you. It's very taxing. But like I said, the experience you get out of it, the results of, or just watching your students grow, like that feeling is
Mhm.
priceless. Like it's very rewarding. It can't be bought pretty much. But yes, that's pretty much like my why. I think did I answer your question? I
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah, yeah. You definitely did. You definitely did. And yeah, just the passion, like regardless of the stress and how taxing it is, and the sacrifice you make in terms of waking up early, working after hours, just to get job done when you need to. You do it because it's your passion. You like the impact that you have on these kids, and and really it's as you mentioned, rewarding. Um, speaking of that, just the rewarding and passion and things like that. Just dealing with this whole quarantine pandemic thing. How have you been coping with that, man? Are you like, have you been anxious? Are you happy?
I'm not gonna lie. When schools first closed, it was like a mixed feeling. It was like, oh my god, like it's serious. What I mean, this is real. Like this pandemic virus thing was real. Um, I'm not gonna have to wake up at 5 in the morning anymore, which I'm glad. Um, but it killed my routine. What I mean? It killed like me getting up that early, going to work, being up all day, then coming home to do what I gotta do, rest. It killed that cycle, that routine that I had, that I like kind of stuck to so strictly. Um, we didn't really have a plan in terms of remote learning at first, so that kind of developed along the way. So I was just kind of waiting on that. Started learning how to invest my money in the stock market a couple months ago, like before schools closed. So it gave me a little more time to learn about that, to get more experience, to put a little bit more time into it than I would usually do. Because when I first started, it was like, okay, uh, I'm working all day, so I only get to check my phone or check like the markets, a couple times a day when I have a break or when I'm not doing anything, when I'm not teaching. Um, and then I realized like being in at your home in quarantine in your home all day every day, like consecutively, that it takes a lot out of you. What I mean, at first I did forget what outside felt like. I was like,
Same.
I'm outside, like what's going on?
Yeah.
uh like the sun is hitting my skin, like it was springtime when it started, like quarantine started. I did eat a lot more. I did exercise a little bit less, but then I realized, like, I have so much time at home. Like now is the time to really use my time to, exercise a little bit more, start cooking more, like choosing what I want to eat. Start, investing my time into reading, into, doing all this stuff outside of teaching. Um, and, just still get my job done, but still use the time outside of that to do all the other things I wanted to do too. So that kind of just motivated me to just understand that okay, this is okay. I'm okay. My parents are at risk because they're a little older. They have some underlying diseases. But I'll do what it takes to be careful, not only for me but for my family. But still, just still feel okay. Still put my time into things I want to do in order
Mhm.
to make me feel good. I mean, that was kind of my focus. Like, okay, for quarantine, a lot is happening right now, but like everything's gonna be good. Just take it day by day. You know.
Yeah, that's a great mentality. It's the same mentality that I have.
Hmm.
Because just like you, I forgot what outside was like. I forgot what it felt like to just go outside whenever I wanted to and do shit. Like I was driving the other day, just looking outside. I was like, damn, I can't remember the last time I just like went out with some friends just to drink and shit. And like
Yeah.
what that felt like to be normal.
Hmm.
So, it definitely, quarantine has made me anxious and all this stuff. So I had to, recenter, refocus,
Hmm.
and really just prioritize my time since there's a lot of it, and
Hmm.
just maximize how to be productive, how to, exercise, work out, how to, like you said, researching how to invest in myself,
Hmm.
whether on the stock market. I also like tried stocks, got Robinhood, learned a little bit about the market, and shit like that. Because that's all really what we can do. Really, there's
Yeah.
nothing else to do. So it's tough. It's okay to not always be happy. Is also what I've learned.
Mhm.
But it's just life. We got to stick through.
Yeah, man. Like I said, take it day by day, and like you said, or like we said, we have so much time on our hands. So now we have that time, that ability, that freedom to put it towards what we want to do to better ourselves, to learn more, to read, to meditate, to sleep better, to eat better, to exercise more. Do all those things. You know, Not saying that a lot of people were impacted by this pandemic. A lot of people did get infected, did die. A lot of people did lose their jobs. I was so grateful to still be able to work, where people started losing jobs or when things closed down. Um, and it's grateful that I can afford to eat. Grateful that I can afford to pay off my expenses and do stuff like that. So just remembering that you gotta stay positive. That you could be in a better position than some people, and really to just be grateful for that because a lot, like I said, a lot of people were affected by this pandemic negatively. Um, and just trying to make sure you're okay and that the people around you are okay, and just show support whenever you can. Just make sure you be there for them. Um,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much how I felt about all of the whole coronavirus.
Same, bro. For like literally same thing. Like I was one of those people that was laid off because of the coronavirus, so I lost my job. But even with that, negative thing that affected me, it's almost like I was still, thinking much like you. Like I'm blessed to be alive. I'm blessed that my family is safe and corona free.
Mhm.
A lot of people lost their jobs, but they also lost their homes and
Mhm.
shit like that. So I'm not, in those situations or in those scenarios. So it's not really the end of the world. I can't be. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hopefully, this will be over soon enough.
yeah. It's a virus. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be hard to go away.
Right.
Um, I believe like it'll stick around for sure.
For sure.
But it may come back around like heavy during flu season when people start getting the flu and start sneezing and coughing more. So just want to really be careful around those times. Um, but at the same time, like I know it's not very deadly. I haven't gotten tested yet. I do want to get tested to make sure I'm okay, and to make sure that my family's okay. But I think that, like you said, it will be okay eventually. Humanity has gone through things like this, and we are a bit more advanced than we were before.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do realize like how unprepared we are as a nation.
Yeah,
against like public health crisis. You know, I mean, we
yeah,
spent so much on like guns, militaries, planes, bombs, whatever, stuff like that. But you know, we that stuff doesn't fight the disease. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So you know, just hoping that times will be better. You know, I know there's a lot been going on with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, countless names have lost their lives due to police brutality. Um, that combined with this pandemic, you know, a lot of people are kind of just stressed. You know, the riots, the protests that have been happening, and it's been a lot. So we just want to make sure that like we show support for those movements to bring justice to those who've lost their lives, but also just bring justice to our whole like nation. You know, what I mean, and this nation is like like not necessarily like this is just an ugly nation, you know, from birth till now. You know, what I mean, if you look at history or the phrase "Make America Great Again," you think about, you know, there's a lot of bad shit that happened in the history of the United States. You know, there has been some good stuff. You know, I'm not gonna say there wasn't, but there's been a lot of bad shit that went down.
Hmm.
Um, so we just want, I really just want, I really hope that the next century, that this next couple decades that we live in, will bring some positive change and change to history as we live it.
Yeah, definitely. Like now it's a weird time because this whole pandemic hit. Um, the whole pandemic hit, and that's the thing. The whole world is sitting down and at home, basically. And then
Mm-hmm.
we have this protest, the Black Lives Matter protest that is reaching basically its boiling point with the world's support. And as you mentioned, with just bringing justice and like everyone's realizing how fucked up, America is and the world is just in terms of progressiveness,
Mm-hmm.
um, with, all communities, not just the Black community, but also the LGBTQ community and all these other, you know, uh, people of color communities and indigenous groups. So, I like that, everyone is really fighting and everyone's basically taking a stand, against that. So it's good. It's great. Like as you mentioned, a lot is happening. Taking care of our mental health is very important right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to take a break, just so that you can, be a better ally for these movements. I'm curious, have you ever like experienced any like racial stuff, based on your ethnicity growing up or ever?
Um, Honestly, I think my parents my parents are immigrants, so they came from Singapore and Malaysia. And when they did get here, you know, Singapore and Malaysia are very different places than the U.S. Very Asian dominated countries. You know, so they're very used to just being around people that look like them, or other like Asian races or ethnicities from Southeast Asia. So when they did get here, they did experience some negative experiences with people of color. Um, but I know their hearts are good. But I think those experiences did help create this bias in their mind towards people of color, especially like throughout my life when I've made friends who are people of color.
Mhm.
They were like kind of just not like weird around them, but just like kind of just like who are you hanging out with? Like who are these people? Because like at the end of the day, they're strangers to them, you know. Um, but I didn't let that or my parents' experiences uh, cloud my judgment or my perspectives or my experiences with people of color. Um, Racially wise, I think as an Asian American, I think in middle school when I transitioned from a school in Chinatown to a school on the Upper East Side, which is like predominantly Jewish, and did intake like more people of color too. I think at first my friends who were non-Asian, did not just to make fun of me, but just kind of threw that like, oh, you're Asian, you're different,
Yeah.
and these are the stereotypes about you, and we're gonna laugh about it. Um, but I was like, not really aware of it. You know, we're kids. You know, what I mean, we're not really aware of that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we know like what's right or wrong. You know, we know like when say things that hurt other people's feelings. We recognize that. But I don't think I've ever been like bullied or harassed due to just me being Asian. I think I've definitely been made fun of and like teased and joked around about that stuff, but it never really got to me or who I was.
Hmm.
Because as a kid, I was oh, they're just teasing, they're just joking around, just trying to be funny. But you know, Asian jokes are Asian jokes. Like I'm not gonna laugh, and
Hmm.
joke around. I'm saying, yo, that wasn't funny. You know, like why would you say that? I think going into high school, you know, when we get more mature, um, you know, some kids are still immature. You know, they're still like throw that stuff at you and stuff like that. But like I said, it never really got to me. It would just be like, why would you say that kind of thing? You know what I mean? Like you understand, you know, why that's wrong. And I think in college, one sec, bro, I'm busy. In college, I think my freshman year when I was like around more white people and non-people of color, I did experience it a little bit in terms of how they would treat me compared to other non-people of color. Or like on Comstock Ave, someone like you know made fun of me because I was Asian. Who are you? Dude? Like you know what I mean? Like I don't even know you.
Yeah.
Um, and just things like that. But you know, it was like to me, it was always like the kind of joking around. I don't think I've ever been harassed or threatened or you know felt harmed because of that, because of me being Asian.
Yeah. So,
What about you?
yeah, yeah. Basically, sort of the same. Like you mentioned, like you went through microaggressions growing up. That it wasn't really malicious, but it was just like making fun, like Asian jokes and
Mm-hmm.
etc. from like people of color, and also growing up more so from also white people and things like that. It was basically the same thing for me because I'm an immigrant myself. I did become a citizen a long time ago, but I came here, an African kid from Mozambique, and my first experiences with those microaggressions and like sort of racism was with Dominicans because I grew up in a Dominican neighborhood. So as a kid with my other Dominican classmates, they'd make fun of me because I was African or whatever. So that's really my first few experiences with those having those microaggressions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's something that I could definitely relate to because it's not just a white and people of color, indigenous problem. It's really there's so many layers in between different communities and even within your own community with like colorism and
Yeah.
shit like that. It's really in every section, which is why it's so strong. So I went through that, growing up, much like you. Um, I think like the first like real racist incident I went through, um, like hardcore, was I was playing basketball because I was in the basketball team. I used to go to the courts every day during middle school over the summer. And this Dominican old man, I think like somebody was calling me from afar, and I didn't hear him. This old man, he's like, hey, N word, that guy's calling you, and and then he just like kept walking, and I was like, that was the first time I was ever called that. I think maybe the only time, I'm not sure, and I was just like mad unnecessary. He could have just said, hey kid, or whatever, but I just brushed it off, and yeah, other than that, luckily I haven't had any serious encounters of racism like directly. I haven't had any like direct police encounters either. And I'm thankful for that. But yeah, it's just, a part of life. It's like once you understand that you're different and, that's a thing, I guess like, as you mentioned with those fifth graders that you teach, we're aware of a lot more than, your parents think or whoever may think as a kid. So you learn not to take that too heavy because it's not really a surprise, um, at least for me, from my experiences.
Yeah, I think I'm grateful to have like you know encountered people outside of my culture. You know, not only to learn more about them, but just to just have that experiences of being around them, because like I realized that at Syracuse or at any school, any neighborhood, you know, your experience is your experience. So like the people around you, like you would only think of people that you have been around, you know what I mean? Or you would judge people based on your experiences around them. So I'm grateful to have, like, you know, I've been around people of my culture, of white people, black people, all different races and ethnicities, so that I can be more aware and educated about who they are, where they come from, and to know that, you know, they're human at the end of the day.
Facts, facts.
As long as like they pose no threat to my life, you know, I they do not deserve to be judged negatively by me. You know, a lot of people have like these implicit biases in their head. I am guilty of some of them, not gonna lie. But just due to experiences, you know, I mean, it's all due to experiences of how you are, um, and what has happened to you, and
Yeah,
that's what's
everyone.
gonna, you know, create like those implicit biases in your head. So what I learned is like we just have to make sure we start to unpack those implicit biases. Like, you know, why do we have these biases, and you know, what are we going to do? What action steps are we going to take to be more aware of them and to ultimately unpack and eliminate them?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like everyone, has implicit biases. There's no shame in admitting it. Actually, like admitting it is like it's the first step. So, even with myself, like I had to learn really, like about the cliche or the saying of like black women are underappreciated in terms of especially dark skinned black women. I had to learn that myself just to find like beauty in black women because I realized because of the neighborhood that I grew up in, which is Dominican, and because of the media that I consume, I'm not getting a lot of exposure to this group, and as a result, that's affecting you know my definition of what beautiful is, which shouldn't be limited or constrained to by anything.
Yeah.
But we're coming up on an hour. Don't want to take up too much of your time.
Oh, I didn't even realize, dude. We chatting.
Yeah, yeah, man. It goes quick, I'm telling you. But as I mentioned, I told you before that there's a story ongoing throughout my podcast, and you're gonna have the opportunity to be a part of that story, just as a guest. And of course, you can always be a guest in the future and contribute again. But I'm gonna tell you like the last two or three sentences, and you're gonna just continue on the story with a sentence. So, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
So, like the last sentence that you have to follow up is Cardi B, Rick and Morty go to her abuelita's house where they cook some tostones and salami and have a party.
All
So
right. I
you
gotta
can,
add one sentence to that.
yeah, you can say whatever you want. Then after the party, they did this, or
Okay.
Rick and Morty left Cardi B and whatever.
Okay. Okay. So like, so we're gonna have a party. Um, but Morty doesn't eat salami because he's Muslim. He can't eat pork. I think salami is pork, or he just doesn't eat meat. So he has to go to this spot in the Bronx called Next Stop Vegan to order some food. He's gonna order a chimi from there.
And Chimi.
Yeah,
Okay, so your sentence is was it you said Morty?
Morty realizes that he can't eat meat, or he doesn't eat meat.
Yeah,
So he orders from this place in the Bronx called Next Stop Vegan, and he orders a chimi.
and Chimi. Okay,
Yeah,
that that's your part of the story.
yeah.
I'm gonna have like I don't know after maybe after my 10th guest, I'm gonna have like a little compilation of the story so far with everybody's contributions in it.
All
But
right. Well,
yeah, that's dope, man. Thank you so much for reaching out, being a part of the podcast. Um, I hope to have you on again in the future, man. Love the fact that you're teaching and making an impact on these kids and doing your thing.
yeah, man. Same to you. I know we haven't connected in a while, but dope to just have this conversation. Um, and just to check up on both of us, make sure you're doing good, I'm
Yeah.
doing good. And I'm glad that you found something new to put your time into after you said losing your job and throughout this pandemic. So I hope you continue to invest your time into this and reach out to either have people reach out to you or just do more of this. Just
Thanks.
keep it going.
Thanks.
Don't as long as you love doing this and this is something that you enjoy, just that's all that matters. Like no, it doesn't matter if nobody watches it or 100 people or 10,000 people watch it. As
Yeah.
this is something you enjoy doing, eventually you'll manifest it into something bigger.
I appreciate it, man. Means a lot. Means a lot.